Hello everyone and happy holidays. My name is Diane McFarland. I'm the Artistic Director of Kaneland Arts Initiative, and we've prepared something special for you today. It's a KAI holiday treat featuring some of our favorite KAI performers. I know you're going to enjoy it. We're going to open with Clara Paulson, who wrote a very special song called What I Love About Christmas, followed by her mom, Maria Drips Paulson, our Executive Director, who's going to share that special story, How the Grinch Stole Christmas. And then we're going to hear from Sherry Hines, who's going to share a song from Maine, We All Need a Little Christmas. And we're going to end with Rebecca Hoff, coming all the way from New York City. And she's going to be reading A Snowy Day. Enjoy.
It's my favorite time of year, when Christmas draws near. I can't explain the feeling and why it's so appealing. But if I had a day to talk about Christmas, then this is what I'd say. Picking out the perfect Christmas tree, decorating it with glee, filling up the room with lights, all like green, red, and white. Fresh falling snow, the mistletoe, joy eating within us. That's what I love about Christmas. All those great songs we sing when we go caroling, marshmallows in our cup, hot cocoa fills me up. If I had a day to talk about Christmas, then this is what I'd say. Picking out the perfect Christmas tree, decorating it with glee, filling up the room with lights, all that green, red, and white. Fresh falling snow, the mistletoe, joy eating within us. That's what I love about Christmas. Christmas Eve, when all of the children lay awake, tucked in for the night. Waking up in the morning to come, our parents stay up to make everything just right. Picking out the perfect Christmas tree, decorating it with glee, filling up the room with lights, all like green, red, and white. Fresh falling snow, the mistletoe, joy eating within us. That's what I love about Christmas. I had a day to talk about Christmas, and this is what I'd say. Picking out the perfect Christmas tree, decorating it with glee, filling up the room with lights, all that green, red, and white. Fresh falling snow, the mistletoe, joy eating within us. That's what I love about Christmas. Oh, that's what I love about Christmas.
How the Grinch Stole Christmas by Dr. Seuss. Every Who down in Whoville liked Christmas a lot. But the Grinch, who lived just north of Whoville, did not. The Grinch hated Christmas, the whole Christmas season. Now please, don't ask why. No one quite knows the reason. It could be his head wasn't screwed on just right. It could be, perhaps, that his shoes were too tight. But I think that the most likely reason of all may be that his heart was 2 sizes too small. But what Whatever the reason, his heart or his shoes, he stood there on Christmas Eve, hating the Whos, staring down from his cave with a sour, grinchy frown at the warm lighted windows below in their town, for he knew every Who down in Whoville beneath was busy now, hanging a mistletoe wreath. And they're hanging their stockings, he snarled with a sneer. Tomorrow is Christmas. It's practically here. Then he growled with his Grinch fingers nervously drumming. I must find some way to stop Christmas from coming. For tomorrow, he knew all the Who girls and boys would wake up bright and early and they'd rush for their toys. Oh, then the noise. Oh, the noise. That's the one thing he hated. The noise. Noise. Then the Whos, young and old, would sit down to a feast. And they'd feast, and they'd feast, and they'd feast. They would feast on Who pudding and rare Who roast beef, which was something the Grinch couldn't stand in the least. And then they'd do something he liked least of all. Every Who, down in Whoville, the tall and the small, would stand close together with Christmas bells ringing. They'd stand hand in hand, and the Whos would start singing, and they'd sing, and they'd sing, and they'd sing, and the more the Grinch thought of this Who Christmas sing, the more the Grinch thought, I must stop this whole thing. Why, for 53 years I've put up with it now. I must stop this Christmas from coming. But how? Then he got an idea, an awful idea. The Grinch got a wonderful, awful idea. I know just what to do, the Grinch laughed in his throat, and he made a quick Santa Claus hat and a coat. And he chuckled and clucked. What a great Grinchy trick with this coat and this hat. I look just like St. Nick. All I need is a reindeer. The Grinch looked around, but since reindeer are scarce, there was none to be found. Did that stop the old Grinch? No, the Grinch simply said, if I can't find a reindeer, I'll make one instead. So he called his dog, Max. Then he took some red thread and he tied a big horn on the top of his head. Then he loaded some bags and some old empty sacks on a ramshackled sleigh, and he hitched up old Max. Then the Grinch said, giddy up! And the sleigh started down toward the homes where the Whos lay a snooze in their town. All their windows were dark. Quiet snow filled the air. All the Whos were all dreaming sweet dreams without care. Then he came to the first house on the square. This is stop number 1, the old Grinchy Claus hissed, and he climbed to the roof, empty bags in his fist. Then he slid down the chimney, a rather tight pinch, but if Santa could do it, then so could the Grinch. He got stuck only once for a moment or two. Then he stuck his head out of the fireplace flue, where the little Who stockings all hung in a row. These stockings, he grinned, are the first things to go. Then he slithered and slunk with a smile most unpleasant around the whole room, and he took every present. Pop guns and bicycles, roller skates, drums, checkerboards, tricycles, popcorns, and plums, and he stuffed them in bags. Then the Grinch, very nimbly, stuffed all the bags up, one by one, up the chimbley. Then he slunk to the icebox. He took the Who's feast. He took the Who pudding. He took the roast beast. He cleaned out that icebox as quick as a flash. Why, that Grinch even took their last can of Who hash. Then he stuffed all the food up the chimney with glee. And now, grinned the Grinch, I will stuff up that tree. And the Grinch grabbed the tree and he started to shove when he heard a small sound like the coo of a dove. He turned around fast and saw a small Who, little Cindy Lou who was not more than 2. The Grinch had been caught by this tiny Who daughter who'd got out of bed for a cup of cold water. She stared at the Grinch and said, Santa Claus, why? Why are you taking our Christmas tree? Why? But you know, that old Grinch was so smart and so slick. He thought up a lie and he thought it up quick. Why, my sweet little tot, the fake Santa Claus lied. There's a light on this tree that won't light on one side, so I'm taking it home to my workshop, my dear. I'll fix it up there, and then I'll bring it back here. And his fib fooled the child. Then he patted her head, and he got her a drink, and he sent her to bed. And when Cindy Lou Who went to bed with her cup, he went to the chimney and stuffed the tree up. Then the last thing he took was the log for the fire. Then he went up the chimney himself, the old liar. On their walls he left nothing but hooks and some wire. And one speck of food that he left in the house was a crumb that was even too small for a mouse. Then he did the same thing to the other Who's houses, leaving crumbs much too small for the other Who's mouses. It was 1:15 dawn, all the Who's still abed, all the Who's still asleep when he packed up his sled. Packed it up with their presents, the ribbons, the wrappings, the tags, and the tinsel, the trimmings, the trappings. 3,000 feet up the side of Mount Crumpet, he rode with his load to the tip-top to dump it. Pooh-pooh to the Who's, he was grinchishly humming. They're finding out now that no Christmas is coming. They're just waking up. I know just what they'll do. Their mouths will hang open a moment or two. Then the Who's down in Whoville will all cry, boo-hoo! That's a noise, Grinched the Grinch, that I simply must hear. So he paused, and the Grinch put his hand to his ear, and he did hear a sound rising over the snow. It started in low, then it started to grow. But the sound wasn't sad. Why, this sound sounded merry. It couldn't be so. It was merry. Very. He stared down at Whoville. The Grinch popped his eyes. Then he shook. What he saw was a shocking surprise. Every Who down in Whoville, the tall and the small, was singing without presents at all. He hadn't stopped Christmas from coming. It came. Somehow or other, it came just the same. And the Grinch, with his Grinch feet ice cold in the snow, stood puzzling and puzzling. How could it be so? It came without ribbons. It came without tags. It came without packages, boxes, or bags. And he puzzled 3 hours, till his puzzler was sore. Then the Grinch thought of something he hadn't thought before. Maybe Christmas, he thought, doesn't come from a store. Maybe Christmas perhaps means a little bit more. And then, what happened then? Well, in Whoville, they say that the Grinch's small heart grew 3 sizes that day, and the minute his heart didn't feel quite so tight, he whizzed with his load through the bright morning light, and he brought back the toys and the food for the feast, and he himself, the Grinch, carved the roast beast. The end.
plant the holly, put up the tree before my spirits fall again. Hang up the stockings. I may be rushing things, but deck the halls again now. For we need a little Christmas right this very minute. Candles in the window, carols at the spinet. Yes, we need a little Christmas right this very minute. It hasn't snowed a single flurry, but Santa dear, we're in a hurry. Climb down the chimney, put up the brightest string of lights I've ever seen. Slice up the fruit cake, it's time we hung some tinsel on that evergreen bough. For I've grown a little wiser, grown a little colder, grown a little sadder, grown a little older, and I need a little angel sitting on my shoulder. I need a little Christmas now. Haul out the holly, it's time I taught you all to live each living day. Hang up the stockings, but Auntie Mame, it's 1 week past Thanksgiving Day now. But we need a little Christmas right this very minute. Candles in the window, oh, carols at the spinet. Yes, we need a little Christmas right this very minute. It hasn't snowed a single flurry, but Santa dear, we're in a hurry. Climb down the chimney. It's been a long time since I felt good neighborly. Slice up the fruit cake. It's time we hung some tinsel on that bayberry bough. For we need a little Christmas right this very minute. Candles in the window, oh, carols at the spinet. Yes, we need a little Christmas right this very minute. We need a little Christmas now.
The Snowy Day by Ezra Jack Keats. One winter morning, Peter woke up and looked out the window. Snow had fallen during the night. It covered everything as far as he could see. After breakfast, he put on his snowsuit and ran outside. The snow was piled up very high along the street to make a path for walking. Crunch, 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 his feet sank into the snow. He walked with his toes pointing out like this. He walked with his toes pointing in like that. Then he dragged his feet slowly to make tracks, and he found something sticking out of the snow that made a new track. It was a stick that was just right for smacking a snow-covered tree. Down fell the snow, plop, on top of Peter's head. He thought it would be fun to join the big boys in their snowball fight, but he knew he wasn't old enough. Not yet. So he made a smiling snowman, and he made angels. He pretended he was a mountain climber. He climbed up a great big tall heaping mountain of snow and slid all the way down. He picked up a handful of snow and another and still another. He packed it round and firm and put the snowball in his pocket for tomorrow. Then he went into his warm house. He told his mother all about his adventures while she took off his wet socks. And he thought and thought and thought about them. Before he got into bed, he looked in his pocket. His pocket was empty. The snowball wasn't there. He felt very sad. While he slept, he dreamed that the sun had melted all the snow away. But when he woke up, his dream was gone. The snow was still everywhere. New snow was falling. After breakfast, he called to his friend from across the hall, and they went out together into the deep, deep snow.
Happy holidays, everyone. I am so glad that you've joined us for this KAI holiday treat. My name is Deanna Cates, and it is my privilege to serve as the president of the Board of Directors for the Kaneland Arts Initiative. I have the pleasure to welcome you to my home to speak about an organization that always makes me feel at home and holds a very special place in my heart, and say a few words about our tentative season. As you all know, these are challenging times for the arts. Like so many, the KAI had planned an outstanding season of programming and performances, but are currently in a COVID social distancing holding pattern and are currently unsure of which method we will be able to produce the remainder of our season. The hope is for live productions with the promise of vaccinations and herd immunity. That said, our board is proud of the KAI's drive in pivoting and accomplishing many positive initiatives to date virtually. A few of these highlights include the showcasing of our past artists on our website to draw attention to these talented individuals who are struggling in this pandemic. The partnering with Chicago author Lindsay Curry to create a virtual production of her latest book that was recognized by her fans and educators worldwide. And we proudly bring you this production, produced by the love of local artists who want to share joy and happiness in this most unique holiday season. Additionally, we have planned a robust set of programs for the first half of 2021, all with the hope that we will begin moving to less virtual and more actual performances again. In that, we plan to present the annual hometown concert presented by folk singer Lee Murdoch in January, the winter staged reading in February, a comedy show in either February or March, the 21st Kaneland Community Fine Arts Festival in May, and I'm very excited about this one. June will bring our first ever theater camp. And finally, our summer musical, The Drowsy Chaperone, will end our season in July. The KAI board has decided that even if we had to hold each of these events virtually, we will. Our communities will continue to celebrate creativity through the arts and bathe in the soothing power of our souls and spirits being uplifted. By now, we have all learned that virtual does not mean free. In fact, the act of creating under these new technologies requires additional staff and coordination and is equal in cost to performances. The KAI runs on the generosity of those who support us, and we are thankful for each and every one of you. The Kaneland School District, our local businesses and organizations, our grants, and of course, individual patrons like you. We hope that you will consider a donation for the Kaneland Arts Initiative so we can continue to provide the arts to our community and the communities served by the Kaneland School District. You will find all of your tax-deductible giving opportunities on our website at www.artskai.org and by clicking on the link in the description below. We all hope that your holidays are full of beauty, joy, calm, quiet, health, and wonderful memories. And now, back to the show.
Jean heaved another world-weary sigh. Tugging a strand of shiny black hair behind her ear, she frowned at the teetering tower of Christmas cards waiting to be signed. What was the point? How could she sign only one name? A couple required two people, and she was just one. The legal separation from Don had left her feeling vacant and incomplete. Maybe she would skip the cards this year, and the holiday decorating. Truthfully, even a tree felt like more than she could manage. She had canceled out of the caroling party and the church nativity pageant. Christmas was to be shared, and she had no one to share it with. The doorbell's insistent ringing startled her. Padding to the door in her thick socks, Jean cracked it open against a frigid December night. She peered into the empty darkness of the porch. Instead of a friendly face, something she could use about now, she found only a jaunty green gift bag perched on the railing. From whom, she wondered, and why? Under the bright kitchen light, she pulled out handfuls of shredded gold tinsel, feeling for a gift. Instead, her fingers plucked an envelope from the bottom. Tucked inside was a typed letter. It was a story? The little boy was new to the Denmark orphanage, and Christmas was drawing near, Jean read. Already caught up in the tale, she settled into a kitchen chair. From the other children, he heard tales of a wondrous tree that would appear in the hall on Christmas Eve and the scores of candles that would light its branches. He heard stories of the mysterious benefactor who made it possible each year. The little boy's eyes opened wide at the mere thought of all that splendor. The only Christmas tree he had ever seen was through the fogged windows of other people's homes. There was even more, the children insisted. More? Oh, yes. Instead of the orphanage's regular fare of gruel, they would be served fragrant stew and crusty, hot bread that special night. Last, and best of all, the boy learned, each of them would receive a holiday treat. He would join the line of children to get his very own... Jean turned the page. Instead of a continuation, she was startled to read, "Everyone needs to celebrate Christmas, wouldn't you agree? Watch for part 2. She refolded the paper while a faint smile teased the corner of her mouth. The next day was so busy that Jean forgot all about the story. That evening she rushed home from work. If she hurried, she'd probably have enough time to decorate the mantel. She pulled out the box of garland, only to drop it when the doorbell rang. Opening the door, she found herself looking at a red gift bag. She reached for it eagerly and pulled out the piece of paper. To get his very own orange, Jean read. An orange? That's a treat, she thought incredulously. An orange of his very own? Yes, the others assured him. There would be one apiece. The boy closed his eyes against the wonder of it all. A tree, candles, a filling meal, and an orange of his very own. He knew the smell, tangy sweet, but only the smell. He had sniffed oranges at the merchant stall in the marketplace. Once he had even dared to rub a single finger over the brilliant pocked skin. He fancied for days that his hands still smelled of orange. But to taste one, to eat one? Heaven. The story ended abruptly, but Jean didn't mind. She knew more would follow. The next evening, Jean waited anxiously for the sound of the doorbell. She wasn't disappointed. This time, though, the embossed gold bag was heavier than the others had been. She tore into the envelope, resting on top of the tissue paper. Christmas Eve was all the children had been promised. The piney scent of the fir tree competed with the aroma of lamb stew and the homey yeast bread. Scores of candles diffused the room with golden halos. The boy watched in amazement as each child in turn eagerly claimed an orange and politely said, "Thank you." The line moved quickly, and he found himself in front of the towering tree and the equally imposing headmaster. "Too bad, young man, too bad. But the count was in before you arrived." It seems there are no more oranges. Next year, yes, next year you will receive an orange. Broken-hearted, the poor boy raced up the stairs empty-handed to bury both his face and his tears beneath his pillow. Wait, this wasn't how she wanted the story to go. Jean felt the boy's pain, his aloneness. The boy felt a gentle tap on his back. He tried to still his sobs. The tap became more insistent until, at last, he pulled his head from under the pillow. He smelled it before he saw it. A cloth napkin rested on the mattress. Tucked inside was a peeled orange, tangy sweet. It was made of segments saved from the others, a slice donated from each child. Together, they added up to make one whole, complete fruit, an orange of his very own. Jean swiped at the tears trickling down her cheeks. From the bottom of the gift bag, she pulled out an orange, a foil-covered chocolate orange, already separated into segments. And for the first time in weeks, she smiled, really smiled. She set about making copies of the story, wrapping individual slices of the chocolate orange. There was Mrs. Potter across the street, spending her first Christmas alone in 58 years. There was Melanie down the block, facing her second round of radiation. Her running partner, Jan, single-parenting a difficult teen. Lonely Mr. Bradford, losing his eyesight. And Sue, sole caregiver to an aging mother. A piece from her might help make one whole.
We just heard from Trisha Mills sharing a special Christmas story called The Slice of Life. And now we're going to hear from Addison Runnestad, singing one of our old favorite songs, White Christmas, followed by Peter Lopayton. Listen to this special story. And ending our performances today is our friend Doug Orlick, who will be playing the piano and singing God Bless My Family by Ann Hampton Calloway. And during our credits, you're going to be listening to the sweet voice of Catherine Bettinghouse. From our KAI family to yours, we wish you a very warm, special, sweet, peaceful, and healthy holiday season. Thanks for joining us today.
I'm dreaming of a white Christmas, just like the ones I used to know, where the treetops glisten and children listen to hear sleigh bells in the snow. I'm dreaming of a white Christmas, with every Christmas card I write. May your days be merry and bright.
The Latka Who Couldn't Stop Screaming, A Christmas Story by Lemony Snicket. This story ends in someone's mouth, but it begins in a tiny village more or less covered in snow. The snow had fallen during the long night, during which children had pressed their faces to the windows, looking for a glimpse of a man suspected of bringing them wonderful gifts. But instead they heard a terrible noise from a certain cottage in the neighboring arrondissement, a word which here means place where something was being born. Now this cottage was already regarded with suspicion, as it was the only place not decorated with flashing colored lights at this time of year. The thing being born was a latke, a word which here means potato pancake. Latkes are a traditional part of the celebration of Hanukkah, a holiday commemorating a miraculous Jewish military victory. And nearly everything in this world is born screaming, and the latke was no exception. And even though the latke wasn't conceived and born in the way you and I were conceived and born, but instead was fashioned from grated potatoes, chopped onion, beaten eggs, and a dash or two of salt. Once these ingredients were properly mixed, the latke was slapped into a pan full of hot olive oil at a very high temperature, and this is when it began to scream. Ah! Ah! The latke was suffering so much that it leapt out of the hot pan and out of the window of the cottage and began to run screaming down the street. Ah! Now this may seem like unusual behavior for potato pancake, but this is a Christmas story in which things tend to happen that would never occur in real life. The latke ran past a row of flashing colored lights which hung from the rain gutters of a less suspicious cottage. "What's all the ruckus?" they said, the lights in unison. "I was just thrown into a pan of boiling oil," the latke cried in reply. "Can you believe it?" "Yes," said the flashing colored lights, "but we can't imagine why." "Because I'm a latke," said the latke. "So you're basically hash browns," the flashing colored lights said. "Maybe you could be served alongside a Christmas ham." "I'm not hash browns," cried the latke. "I'm something completely different." Ah! The latke rounded the corner and found itself face to face with a candy cane, which wrinkled its red and white nose at the latke in distaste. "I'm trying to sprinkle the night air with my peppermint scent," the candy cane said. "Your mouth-watering smell, not to mention all that yelping, is spoiling the effect." "My mouth-watering smell is part of the cozy feeling of Hanukkah," the latke replied. The candy cane said, "Someone should write a Christmas carol about you." "I'm not part of Christmas," cried the latke. "It's a totally different thing." Ah! The screams of the latke grew quieter and quieter as the pancake ran out of the village into the surrounding forest. Its utter fury was unabated, a phrase which here means the latke was still very annoyed at the objects to whom it had spoken. But it was quite tired, and so it decided to rest for a few moments beneath the branches of a little pine tree. The pine tree was napping, but it woke at the sound of an object plopping down at its feet. "Are you a present?" the pine tree asked. "Presents are pretty much the only thing allowed to sit beneath me during this time of year." The latke sighed. "Presents aren't really a big part of Hanukkah," it said in a voice hoarse from screaming. "There's nothing wrong with giving gifts to loved ones, of course, but it's more important to light the light of the candle for 8 consecutive nights, to commemorate the miracle of the temple and the miracle of the victory, even when you're hopelessly outnumbered. So you shouldn't give up hope." "Plus Santa Claus," said the pine tree. The latke was too exhausted to scream. "Santa Claus had nothing to do with it," the latke said. "Christmas and Hanukkah are completely different things." "But different things often blend together," said the pine tree. "Let me tell you a funny story about pagan rituals." But before the pine tree could begin its story, a family came trooping through the snow, searching the forest carefully. "We shouldn't have waited until the last minute to get ready for the holiday," the father said. "We'll never find a good one." "You shouldn't give up hope," said the mother, and pointed at the pine tree. "Look." "It's perfect," said the daughter. Beautiful, agreed the son. Such a marvelous shape, said the mother. And its skin looks so crispy, said the father. And he reached down and scooped up the latke from the snow. We'll need to reheat it, of course, but this will be perfect for Hanukkah dinner, with a topping of applesauce, sour cream, or even jam. I'll refry it in oil, said the mother, to remind us of the rededication of the temple. And the triumph of the Maccabees over Antiochus, said the daughter. After hiding in caves all that time, the son chimed in. The family strolled back to the village, walking past all the cottages with flashing colored lights and smiling politely at the candy canes until they reached their own home. The family carried the latke into their own home, which was warm and cozy, and sat down at the table, which was lit by the flickering candles of a menorah, specifically designed for the holiday. It's very frustrating not to be understood in this world. If you say one thing and keep being told you mean something else, it can make you want to scream. But somewhere in the world there's a place for all of us, whether you're an electric form of decoration, peppermint-scented sweet, a source of timber, or a potato pancake. On a cold, snowy night, everyone and everything should be welcomed somewhere, and the latke was welcomed into a home full of people who understood what a latke is and how it fits into its particular holiday. And then they ate it.
It's Christmas time. Outside the snow is falling like a million stars, like a million dreams, all dressed up in white. I'm writing Christmas cards, a joy that's tinged with sadness as I think of friends. Some are here and some are gone, but our love lives on and on like the snow tonight. And oh, what a family my life has given me. From the corners of the earth to the reaches of the sky, we touch eternally. And though my heart aches every day, this Christmas I will find a way to let each face I've ever loved shine out in me. God bless my family. As years go by, the carols we sang as children gather memories. What was just a song now feels like a prayer, welcoming us home to fathers, mothers, sisters, brothers everywhere. Some we've lost and some we've found, as love circles us around in the songs we share. And oh, what a family my life has given me. From the corners of the earth to the reaches of the sky, we touch eternally. And though my heart aches every day, this Christmas I will find a way to let each face I've ever loved shine out in me. God bless my family. So fly, angels of my heart, we'll never be apart. To night I say a prayer for loved ones everywhere. You're a part of my family that life has given me. From the corners of the earth to the reaches of the sky, we touch eternally. And though my heart aches every day, this Christmas I will find a way to let each face I've ever loved shine out in me. God bless my family. You'll always live in me. God bless my family.
I want a hippopotamus for Christmas. Only a hippopotamus will do. No crocodile, no rhinoceroses. I only like hippopotamuses, and hippopotamuses like me.